Hello fanatics, welcome to Diamond Painting Fanatics. I am Cindy and I'm working on my festive fireplace from Diamond Art Club, and I would like you to come join me and grab whatever you are working on, place those diamonds, because I was having a look at some cases that I want to do for my Thriller Thursday. But this case, I was reading it, I was clicking links, I was researching it. It's not on Wikipedia, but there's several articles, not a lot, but there's several articles on this mystery. However, it has been solved and we will talk about that. But I have a lot of questions relating to this case, and I thought together my fanatics could help me piece them together. So I would like you to put your theories in the comments or help me answer the unanswered questions that I have. Okay, so on December the 12th in 2007, a woman woke up to find her boyfriend covered in blood, dead from an apparent suicide. So she's phoned 911 and she's screaming down the phone and like, I need police, there's blood everywhere. And the police turn up. This is in Texas, I believe. So the police turn up and they walk in and see a horrific sight. And on the surface of it, it does appear to be a suicide. He has slashed wrist, he's holding on to a beer bottle, he's sprawled out in the front room. It appears to be a suicide. So they question Amber, the girlfriend, and they question a 16-year-old lad who goes by the name of Tyler, and he was there babysitting her kids. And they question them, and the person in charge says, okay, you can take Tyler home and we'll be in touch, because obviously we'll have more questions for you and stuff like that. So cool, okay. So Tyler gets into this policeman's car and he's driving him home, and God knows what they chatted about, but he's dropped off at his mum's house, and on the way back he gets a call and says, is Tyler still with you? And he said, no, I've just dropped him off to his mum's house like you just told me to. And he turned around and said, you need to go back and get him now, because this is not a suicide, it's a murder. So they quickly came to the conclusion that he had been murdered. So he's turned round and picked up Tyler, and the autopsy showed that Danny died as the result of multiple sharp force injuries and blunt force head injuries. He was also stabbed like numerous times. So now they want to know who staged the scene to make it look like a suicide, and they actually hone in on the 16-year-old. So at first I thought, well, okay, maybe he helped, and they're honing on the 16-year-old because obviously he's younger than Amber and he's going to help them like get to the truth of the matter, basically. But it turns out that Tyler did it, and the evidence against him was so overwhelming that the jury, they returned a verdict of guilty like not long at all. And the day before he was tried as an adult as well. The day before he turned 17 years old, he was found guilty, and he was sentenced to 99 years in prison. he must serve at least 30 years before he's eligible for parole, which is in 2038. But his lawyers quickly appealed his sentence, arguing that the trial judge should have disqualified a juror who personally knew some of the witnesses. But no, it was denied. So he's on YouTube. You can see him talking to a lady, and he talks about the case basically, and that he's very sorry for what he did. I don't buy it. There's just something about him. He doesn't buy it, and he apparently in court he turned around. This is all from memory. So he turned around and said that he was sorry for, you know, to his parents basically for taking his life, but he wasn't sorry for actually committing it. Now his whole view on the matter was that he got into an argument with his girlfriend Amber, and you know, he grabbed her by the hair and all of this, and he stabbed him, like, to try and stop the altercation. That didn't work, so he stabbed him again, and he said blood went everywhere, you know, just from them stab wounds. Then what I don't understand, right, is yes, he didn't pre-plan, it wasn't premeditated, it was a decision that he made it suggested that he quite fancied Amber, and with Danny out of the way he could, like, make a move. I mean, he's 16. I don't know how old Amber is in this. Danny was 32 and Amber has kids and stuff. But this 16-year-old obviously fancied her and whatnot. But in this police interview, he has a teardrop under his eye, which indicates, I thought it was people that had committed murder and in for life, but I don't know these things. Yeah, for obvious reasons, I don't associate with these people, but yeah. And she was like, oh, you know, why do you have a teardrop? And he said, it's a permanent sadness. But I didn't buy it. I don't buy it. Anyway, moving on. So Amber was cleared with the police investigation. They believe that she wasn't involved. She didn't help stage the scene. She, like, genuinely walked out and found him dead in her front room, or in his front room. But I ask you, with the brutality of this murder, and I mean, he apparently used a hammer, but when he stabs him, he must have, like, screamed or yelled or said, you know, stop stabbing me, or he must have said something, Danny. And Amber didn't hear a thing. This is what is bothering me. So apparently Amber was asleep in bed, and he said the same thing. He said, oh, I was asleep and came down and found Danny. His story kept changing, which made them go, hang on a minute, like, why is your story changing all the time? So they honed in on him. But he was saying that he was asleep and, you know, his arm was outstretched, and he was like, well, he was asking specifically where his shoes were, and he said, I didn't have any shoes on, but the shoes were covered in blood, and that's how they sort of realised it was all him. But I'm not sure if Amber is completely innocent in all of this. And this is what I'm thinking about while diamond painting. So Danny's body was found with 16 stab wounds and several blows to the head. So I don't understand. There were children in the house. Again, I don't know how old the children were, but how strange. It's all very strange, and I honestly believe that the girlfriend isn't as innocent as she made out. I can't understand how all of that can happen and it didn't wake her or didn't alert her in any way whatsoever. She just came down in the morning and found him. I don't believe that. Do you? That is my question. Would it be possible to bludgeon someone to death and someone in the next room doesn't hear a thing? On his suicide note, that was Tyler admitted to writing it. I loved you. Had his fingerprints on it. The beer bottle, he said, oh, he drank around about 10 bottles of beer, so he was drunk and all of that. That was a lie. He had 0 alcohol in his system in the autopsy. I have watched his dad talking about his son, and it's so sad. Like, it was bringing tears to my eyes. It was so sad. He was so loved. Danny had a couple of young children. I believe one daughter was 12 when this happened, and it's just so sad. Tyler, according to court testimony, Tyler was under the influence of cocaine at the time, and he was just 8 days shy of getting off probation for previous offences. I mean, I know he's very young, but he looks like he should not be let out. Do you know, as true crime fanatics, you probably know what I mean by that. But it wasn't a capital murder case. You know, it wasn't pre-planned or anything like that, so they didn't seek the death penalty, but he was sentenced to 99 years. And he's eligible for parole in 2038, and he was also fined £10,000. What for, I don't know, but yeah. So yeah, that's all I can really find on this case, and ooh, there's more murders. I'll have to click these links, but it's all I can really find on this case. Any replies? No comments left. So yeah, it's a really tragic case. It's really, really sad, and I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this, because yeah, I've been thinking about it, and it's very, very tragic, I've got to say. So please do let me know what your thoughts are about this case in the comments. I'm very curious. Now, I have another case for you. It's a what do you believe type of case, and Kayla Skeen was 17 years old, and she met this guy who she fell in love with, and she sounds like a really lovely young girl. And then she got with this guy who, I think he was 23, so like there was roughly a 6-year age gap. And then somehow she ends up being controlled, which is easily done, very, very easily done. Love makes you blind, and you get controlled by these narcissistic personalities, and she was paying for everything, and she even paid for like his bond or probation, because again this is in America, and you know, her family were like, what are you doing? You know, he's telling you when you can go out, when you can see your family. When he was very controlling, and you know, her family would like, come on love, wake up, you know, get out of this. So she was like, it's okay, I've got this, I can handle myself and it's fine, don't worry about it. So he didn't want her to hang out with her friends, he wanted to work, and he wouldn't get a job, he's too special for that. So he ended up getting pretty fisty with her, and photos were taken. She never went to the police, sadly, but photos were taken, and she is like badly beaten, swollen eyes, you know, the lot. And then he apparently picked up an aluminium, or aluminum as Americans say, but an aluminium crutch, and he was striking her with it, you know, and yeah, he ended up like getting a baseball bat and smashing her truck. He was busting all the windows, all the tail lights, really, really bad. And she called the police, and when they went to arrest him, he tried to say that Kayla had done it all by herself, like she lost it and she like done the truck herself. But he was jailed for, I quote, criminal mischief, and he was sentenced to 6 months probation. I mean, isn't this always the case? So Kayla ended up taking him back, because again, unless you have been in an abusive relationship of any type, you won't understand. But she did, she took him back, and you know, everyone's screaming at her like, this is your chance, get out. But she went back to him, and she found it hard to let go. She had spent pretty much 2 years in this relationship, and I'm gonna just quickly say here, as, I don't know, a side note I guess, but when someone, and probably Kayla, when they meet someone and they are kind, they are generous, they take you out for meals, they shower you with attention, they treat you to gifts and all of that, in the beginning it's all very romantic, you're all very happy, and then slowly over time they become controlling and manipulative and all of that. Then people in Kayla's position will fight and fight to get that person back, you know, the kind, loving person. The problem and the truth of that is that that person does not exist. The controlling narcissist is their true identity. They are not interested, you know, they've wooed you, now you're theirs, then you belong to the narcissist in their mind. So I urge anyone to like run if that happens. Okay, so back to the story. She was constantly bailing him out of trouble and everything else. She paid for his probation, and she probably paid for the one that leads to this very, very tragic, awful story. But I'm going to say now my personal opinion, well, the opinion of quite a few people, but in this case, the police have let her down and her family in a very, very, very bad way. So, okay, so they'd still dating, and Kayla wanted, oh no, he started off by saying that if she didn't come and pick him up, that he was going to hang himself from a bridge. I don't know where that bridge is, but in America. And she would always say, I've got to go get him. I've got, you know, he begged me. I don't know if she asked her mum or if he was asking her mum to move in with them. And she relented, but she finally let him move in, and it proved to be a very bad move. And he could never hold down a job, and they ended up having a big argument, the mum and the boyfriend. And he would text her from Kayla's phone, so it's coming up message from daughter, you know, that she needed to go take a shower and wash the evil off, and all horrible, nasty, vindictive things. And I think essentially he's trying to wedge himself between the relationship of Kayla and her mum. But anyway, so she continued to support Alan, the boyfriend, and he paid her back with fists. Essentially, he just kept beating her up and controlling her. So, yeah, let's just move on to, you know, he beat her up, but she never really reported it to the police. And then, days later from that horrific beating that he put on her, Alan was screaming for Kayla's family to call the cops. Kayla was hanging in a tree. Now, Alan tells detectives that she had an electric cord around her neck. I walked around the back, and there she was hanging from the tree. So he said that he found Kayla and then ran inside to the trailer, grabbed a knife, and then went back out and cut her down from the tree, trying to save her, essentially. It was very, very quickly ruled a suicide. So the police have walked onto the scene again and looked and seen that a white patio chair's tipped over, there's cord hanging from the tree and around Kayla's neck, and where the what's his name, Alan cut the cord, so it's like still hanging from the tree essentially, and it was ruled a suicide. And the mum and the grandma went, absolutely not, this is not a suicide, you need to investigate this. So basically they ruled it a suicide, case closed, end of, no more investigating. They did not speak to the boyfriend at all, even though he claimed to have gone out there and cut her down from the tree. They did not get a statement from him, they did not question him, and it was ruled a suicide, end of, done. But as I was looking into this, the family hired a private investigator, and he turned around and said the cord that was used was actually long enough for her to stand on the floor, so she wouldn't have been hanging from that cord. They said that the ligature marks, obviously looking at crime scene photos and everything, the ligature marks went around the neck, like in a horizontal way, whereas actually if she had been hanging, the cord would have gone across the neck and up behind the ears because of the weight of any person trying to attempt to hang themselves. So that wasn't consistent with a suicide. Yeah, they just took it as face value that it was a suicide, and that was that. Now, Alan claims he discovered Kayla suspended 3 feet above the ground, but that's impossible because the electric cord was too long for Kayla to be hanging. She would not have been suspended from the air, basically. Then what happened? I do not believe this was a hanging. He works in forensics for more than 20 years for the police. So he said this is not a hanging. And they kind of went, yeah, but it is. So we're done with this. Let's move on to the next crime. This is talking about the forensic guy also said that her top was ripped and she had scratch marks on her chin, which is consistent with someone trying to grasp at the, in this case it was an electric cord, but they're trying to grab the strangulation tool, and it was consistent with that. She had a broken necklace, and the broken necklace was found inside the trailer. Not that the police did this, you know, it's from crime. They went round, took a load of photos and declared it a suicide. But there were injuries that were fresh on her face, claiming, well, indicating that there was a scuffle inside the trailer. He strangled her inside, this is the theory, he strangled her in the trailer and then thought, oh no, now I have to come up with something. So he threw it, you know, put her in the yard and made it look like he cut her down from the tree. But they will not reopen the case. And this private investigator actually spoke to the boyfriend, and he was like, well, you know, how do you think that she managed to do these certain types of knots? And he went, I don't think she did. And they were like, wait, what? Because they take time and practice, those type of things. But I honestly believe the boyfriend did it, but they have no written statement, no interview, nothing. They have absolutely nothing. They just ruled it a suicide and didn't even question him. They just took his word for it. The last phone call that was made to a friend called Gabrielle, Kayla was calling her upset that he was chasing her around the yard, and that Kayla was trying to tell him to get away from her, don't bother me and leave me alone. So she's running around that yard terrified, and yeah, he killed her, in my opinion. The private investigator says that some of Alan's clothes were laying on the floor stained in urine. Was it his? Was it Kayla's? No one bothered to test anything at all. Were his fingernails tested for any scrapings? Nope. There was no pictures taken of him whatsoever to see if any scratches or anything, you know, self-defense and all of that, but no, nothing. And then this guy has gone to the police in the hopes to reopen the case and said, you need to look at my evidence and reopen this case as a murder investigation. And he was asked if the police had said, yeah, no, our investigation shows that it's a suicide. And he said nothing contradicts anything that this guy has come out with. So, yeah, he got away with murder. I honestly believe that. I believe she died of strangulation, and so does the forensic guy, the who was the other one, private investigator, and her family, essentially, and this is what matters. But her mum won't rest until the case is reopened. She wants someone, quote, "I want somebody to come in here and do a proper investigation of this place like I have asked from day one," said Kayla's mother. So, was it suicide or was it murder? I'm on the it's murder side, and done by a narcissist that is probably going to do it again, because the police don't do this. So this was updated on the 24th of March 2018. I'm not sure when this case happened, but after reviewing the case of Kayla, whose death was ruled a suicide 5 years ago, so 2013, agents have decided not to further investigate her death, despite her family's contention that she did not take her own life. Now she's fighting, as a courtesy to her family, Kayla Skeen's case was reopened by the Clay County Sheriff's Office, which asked the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to review it. Oh, let's click that. When was it reopened? And what's happened? Oh, FDLE declined to investigate. Oh, all these do you accept the cookies things. Get off. The site declined to investigate her death. This is so sad. And they're not going to investigate it because it's going to show that the police have done nothing. It's negligence on their part, so they're going to do everything they can to fight this case, even though in their own private homes they're going, yeah, we messed this up big time. Oh, guys, I get so annoyed. This poor girl, just by chance, ended up in the clutches of this Alan person. There's no comments on here either. And I think that the police should have even had a conversation, a recorded, documented conversation, because if you have a conversation it's not documented, it didn't happen. But they should have had a documented conversation with this boyfriend, purely on the fact that he was the last person to see her alive and the first person to find her. Surely that would be just purely enough for a documented conversation, and then that might have opened up, you know, his inconsistencies or outright lies would have surely opened that investigation up, but they didn't. They walked in and went, yeah, this is a suicide and we're done, which is really, really tragic for both Kayla and her family. She deserves more than this. So I am personally sending out my love and condolences to Kayla Skeen's mum and her family. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed these couple of stories, and as you can probably hear, I'm a little bit passionate, a little bit too passionate about this, but yeah, let me know what you think, guys. I would love to hear your your thoughts on these couple of cases that I have shared with you, and I hope you've enjoyed diamond painting along with me. And yeah, I am going to send you guys lots of love, lots of hugs, and sparkles, of course. And I shall see you in another video, you guys. Bye.